Hi, my name is William Paoli, and I am responsible for the development of Atlassian.com and hipchat.com.
Hi, I'm Nicolas Barbé. I am a senior consultant at Magnolia, and I work in the Basel office in the services team.
And today, Nicolas and I want to show you a modification that we made to Magnolia, to the Magnolia development workflow, that really comes from the perspective of the front-end thinker, or the front-end developer. Rami's presentation was really inspiring, and it just shows that the path that we're on right now with Magnolia and more front-end developers wanting to make the experience more smooth. My initial question was actually the same as Rami's. I was sitting facing this way, so I didn't really get to see what the answer was. How many people here are front-end developers or consider themselves to be front-end developers on some level? Okay, cool.
We have more front-end developers than this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I kind of want to run through, since the majority of people here are not actually front-end developers, I kind of want to run through how front-end developers think. I think it helps frame why we came up with the idea that we did come up with and why there was a need for it. Front-end developers work very closely with designers. And the work that we do usually is the last step before a project actually goes live. And because of that, user experience is extremely important to us. A lot of times when a wireframe becomes a working prototype, many times that's the first time that it's actually being interacted with. So we get the chance to collaborate with designers every day. Because of that, we really have a strong respect for design. And we understand that the difference between good design and really great design is in the smallest of details. So pixel perfect design is important to us, and we respect that. We love CSS. CSS in itself to us is an art form. When it comes to developing new grid systems, animations, responsive layouts, all of these things are done with CSS, and they're extremely important. HTML is actually a big deal to us. It's something that most people don't think about or take very seriously. And I think that when we first started out as web developers, HTML was almost a religion. People would argue about what tags you use for what thing and semantics and standards. People were very serious about that, and they would spend hours. I think that we've relaxed on this a little bit with things like Angular coming in, and we're a lot more tolerant of strange markup that's maybe not standards compliant. This isn't as big of a deal to us anymore, but we still hold it dear to our hearts, and we want to control our own markup. Deployments for front-end people. So from a front-end point of view, deployments should be very simple, efficient, and basically transparent to us. We don't want to think about it. There's an ideal that we strive for. It probably began back in the days when we were just learning HTML, and that would bring me to a typical front-end deploy process, how we really imagine it. We open up our text editor in Sublime, a little bit of SAS code or CSS, SAS code. Save that code, open it in the browser, hit refresh, and that's our deploy. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated than that, but that's the ideal that we really we think it should be that easy, if not easier. With tools like live browser reload, we really shouldn't even have to do this step. We really should just save our CSS, and it's live. So the way we get there is with these great front-end development tools or deployment tools, which Rami also illustrated. We had a very similar slide. But I think that illustrates the power and the popularity of these tools. So we have Bower and NPM for dependency management, Grunt or Gulp for task managers that handles all of these functions for deploying. So front-enders have high expectations when it comes to speed and moving quickly. We don't generally ever restart. We don't even generally want to use an IDE if we can get away with it. We release code several times a day to production. I was looking at TED Talks to get presentation tips, and one of the tips was that you should have a slide with a quote on it. So this picture, I apologize to Sarah if I didn't get her permission to use this slide, but I took this picture just yesterday in a stand-up meeting that we have. We have stand-up meeting every day where designers and developers get together and discuss new changes. We're constantly iterating our design. And right here, this is a decision-making session where we're going over some designs and deciding what we liked, what we didn't like, the implementations, if we already had this component or not, was it a new component? So we have these discussions just about every day. And so we're constantly iterating, designing, and when we do make one of these decisions, we want to implement it as soon as possible. As soon as we've decided that a design is important, there's no reason for it not to be in production as soon as possible. So here's some examples of things that we like to change fast. And I would say, like, out of this list, this is probably the most important aspect of putting something into production quickly. We try to do a lot of A/B testing, and when a test wins, we need to get that in fast, and because it's doing better, it's making us more successful as a company. So this screenshot here is actually another screenshot that I just took on Monday. This is a really good example of the type of things that happen. So, somebody came into our chat room. Actually, this is one of our designers. Came in and said that he wanted a change made right away. That the color of this area would, they believed that if it was changed, it would be more successful. This is a perfect example of the type of change that we'd want to just do right away. So we use Git a lot. We use Bitbucket. It's a huge part of our development workflow as well as our deployment workflow. By managing pull requests in Bitbucket, we're able to keep the entire team in the loop of what changes are being made. And since this is the basis of how we develop and deploy Magnolia, we really want our repo to include everything we need. So it includes FreeMarker, CSS, JavaScript. We also want our configurations in Git. So any iterations we make to these configurations, such as dialogues, components, template definitions, we want to update these things quickly and get them into production fast. And sometimes there's several work streams going at once on different templates and different dialogues, different projects that are being released in the same day, but not in the same release necessarily. And there's one command really that we ideally want to run to update our code in production. Pretty much git pull. That's all we should have to do. So with the power of this one command, ideally we're pulling in the new HTML, new CSS, as well as integrating new template definitions and dialog definitions. And we want to ship these things as soon as they're ready. And in fact, the idea that Nicolas and I collaborated on and developed is shipped and has been working in our website since November. So I'm going to go through a high level of the idea that we implemented and what we did. So the goal was to simplify the deployment workflow and kind of implement what I just talked about. So the first thing we did was create a separate Git project that contained all these front-end resources and configurations. so that it looked more like a standard front-end project. And we created a directory for the configs. And this really illustrates the crux of what we did. Whenever we developed a new dialog here, or any configuration, we have a new action here to export it to the project. So what this does, when you click Export to Project, it takes the XML export of this configuration and puts it into that config folder, which is controlled by Git. So this is the way we're able to easily share changes between developers. So when I export to project a dialog, and then I check that into Git and push it to that Git repo, another developer on the team is able to do a Git pull to their machine, and then they just click import from project, and that pulls in that configuration immediately. So
Yeah, you don't need to restart anything.
without restarting anything, it will just be there. So that's a huge advantage for us because we're able to do that. And that's how this works in a local environment. When we deploy to production, it's a very similar experience with one extra piece. We don't want to have to click the import to project part when we go to production. So the commands really that we're running on production is these three commands. We do a git pull to bring in the new configuration files, as well as the SAS files and free marker templates. The CSS gets processed through one of the tasks of gulp, as well as minification of JavaScript, all the things that we're preparing for our deployment. And then we curl the REST endpoint, which performs the same action as importing from a project. So with that, I'm going to show you right now, fingers crossed, this is a real live demo that we're going to do right now. We didn't do any recordings. We don't have any nets. So what I'm going to illustrate is, we're going to mirror the, OK. So this is the HipChat homepage in Magnolia. And the requirement from our designers was that we wanted to be able to have different, in a dialogue, we wanted to be able to choose different button styles. Instead of just having this hard-coded green button everywhere, we wanted the ability to, through the dialogue, have a drop-down that chose different button styles. So right now we're able to change the button size, but we don't have the ability yet to change the button style. So I get the requirements for should I develop this right now? Should I do this?
Yeah, that's
okay. I got the design from Sarah. Sarah sent me the design about 10 minutes ago, so it's going to take me about a half hour to write the CSS. So if you guys want to go get some coffee or something. Mark got it. Okay. I'm really fast at CSS. It'll only take me a second. So I've gotten really, really good at this. Hold on. IE, hold on. Okay, all right. Sorry. Yeah, oh, mobile. All right, got it. Okay, so now what I'm going to...
You forget the template script.
Oh, template script, sorry. Okay, yeah, and I also have to componentize the free marker for that class name that is hard-coded. Okay, let me check that in. I'm done. I'm going to check that into Git. All right, I pushed it. I pushed my feature branch. Now I'm going to Bitbucket, and I'm going to put in a pull request for this. Okay, I put in a pull request, Nicolas.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look. So I just look at my own Bitbucket account, and I can see that, yes, there is a pull request here. So I will open this pull request. And then here I can see that there is a description about the pull request. So basically the changes that Will has just applied to this pull request. So basically we can find the 3 files which is attached to the change list. We can find here the definition of our dialog. So we need to change the dialog. We need to add a new select box. So we need a new definition of the dialog. We can see here the CSS file, which is actually a SAS file, which should contain the new style of our button. And here the template script, which has to take into account these new styles and apply them to the button. And here I have a diff of the file. So you can see here within the first file, which is the definition of our dialog, that this is a standard bootstrap, Magnolia bootstrap file. So this is, you did that when you export basically the definition of the dialog through the action export to project. So you click on that, and you get the file directly in your project. I won't go through the details because it's XML, so it's not made for humans. I go directly to the CSS file. So the CSS file, as you can see, you will see the definition of the 3 new styles that we want to apply to the button. And the last file here, which is the template script, which is responsible for the rendering of the HTML. So you can see it's very teeny, but here it was hard-coded, and basically you just make it dynamic. So you take the value from the dialog, which has been entered by the user. So the designer decide, the editor decide I want this style, and dynamically you render the proper style. So it looks great.
I hope so.
Yeah. You validate it? It works for you?
Yeah, I tested it.
You tested it?
IE6, it works.
Okay. I approve. We cannot revert.
You cannot?
No, too late.
We can.
We can, yeah.
We've done it several times.
Yeah, right. We will show that. I've just approved. So it's great. So this change, they are available in a feature branch. They are not on the master branch. And I want to see that change on my local environment because I do not trust William. So I want those changes in my master branch locally. So I click merge, and Bitbucket will merge automatically the feature branch and the master branch in the Git repository, which is in Bitbucket. So it's merged. And I want to retrieve that locally. Sorry. I want to retrieve it locally in my, it's here. So I will do the magic command, git pull. So you can see this is a master branch. And I get the 3 files which were in the changes. So the definition, the XML, the bootstrap file, the CSS, and the template script.
And you know what I'm going to say.
Sorry?
You know what I'm going to say
Yeah.
right now. Is Gulp running?
Yes, it is. So I have Gulp, which is running in the background. So basically, it will just watch for any modification and update and apply all your optimization that you have on the front end dynamically. So I don't have to think about that. It's in the background. The same for Magnolia. Magnolia is running in the background. I don't have to think about Magnolia as well. It's running. But what I want to do now is to open Magnolia to see these changes. I still have one manual operation to do as a developer. There is no magic. I have to take this definition in Magnolia. It's not automatically imported. We can do it actually, but we didn't do it.
We do that. We do that in production, but
we will see that later.
Locally, yeah.
So I look at my module. It's called, next one, so this. So this is my module, and I can see here all the definitions. So I just say, OK, refresh everything, import all my definition from my project, from my Git project. Now it's done. And if I go back to the pages app, I can see that without restarting anything, without restarting Magnolia, Tomcat, whatever, the changes are automatically applied. And now I can change if I want. So I put the navy blue with white text, save changes. And we can see as well that the CSS also has been refreshed. And the HTML also is refreshed automatically. So now, if I want to do that in production, so we won't show that because this is the exact same idea. The only difference, so you will have to run git pull, gulp, and as you said, you don't want to go to open the admin control and click manually. So the only things that you can do is just leveraging the REST API that we have in Magnolia, and with the curl command, you just trigger the same commands, the same actions in the UI. So it does the exact same thing that if you do that manually. It's just that you can automate that from a shell script if you want.
Yep, and that brings us to the end of our demo and our presentation. Thank you very much.